Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here and welcome back to Let's Play Civilization 6 as Mongolia. Today we're playing Kublai Khan and we have managed to conquer an entire continent and it's time to pivot to tourism hard. Now, we're pretty close to a tourism victory, about 25% of the way there, and we have a ridiculous 660% luxury resource monopoly multiplier on our individual tourism. So it shouldn't be too hard for us to close this game out. It's really just about optimizing, getting things like theater squares, making sure we have enough builders to supply land that's available for things like national parks. That's a big priority for me right now. I have, I think, 3 national parks now, and I'm hoping to get that up to 5 or 6 within the next few turns. Let's plug Albert Einstein in here. This will give us a random boost for advanced ballistics, and any research labs we build now will have +4 science. Radio gives us access to the seaside resort, which is a great way to turn coastal appeal into tourism. And the broadcast center is pretty helpful too, because it'll allow us to get great musicians nice and quick. And you know, aluminum can be useful if we decide to go for an air force, particularly a late game air force, which usually involves things like bombers. But we're going to go ahead and slap down our very first seaside resort, which has +6 gold on it, which means it's generating a baseline of 6 tourism, which is then going to go ahead and get multiplied by 660% against every civ in the game. Now, I don't know about you, but that single seaside resort generating probably about 100 tourism on its own seems pretty damn balanced. And another +5 seaside resort over here as well. That's really just my priority, is trying to finish cities. And when I say finish cities, what I mean is make it so that they no longer require any more input from me in terms of, you know, actual builder charges or, you know, building things. The cities, I want to try to finish the cities. It might not make sense that you would quote unquote finish a city, but essentially means you get your city to your late game configuration, and then it no longer takes sort of brain power to actually manage that city, because I can just spam out things like builders and send it to other cities, or indeed work like district projects to generate extra grey people. I'm actually surprised that there isn't a reference to XCOM in this civ. It would be really, really cool if there was. I don't know why they didn't do it. Like, they should really consider, they should definitely consider that. Or am I crazy, or is there no reference to XCOM in this game? I don't know. I just feel like I always enjoyed like the XCOM units in Civ 5 and stuff like that. So I thought it would be cool if there was a reference like that in this game. Capitalism lets us build shopping malls. I haven't quite managed to slap down any of my neighborhoods yet, but I 100% want to plug in market economy and laissez-faire. So we'll take out invention now, I think. Put in laissez-faire. I might get rid of skyscrapers, even if it is really, really nice, because I can actually plug in invention then and get tons of great engineer and great merchant points, both of which are super helpful for winning a tourism victory. How badly do I want Bolshoi Theater? It could be a good idea to grab the unlock for Bolshoi Theater, get the 2 randomly chosen free civics by building it, and then quickly fill out the back half of the tech tree here to prevent any of the crappy civics getting chosen when we complete it, because it'll take me a while to build it. Plus, it's like a tourism great wonder. It has great rider points. Yeah, I'll go for Bolshoi. Gotta make sure you periodically go through and renew your open borders with the AI every 30 or so turns when you're going for a tourism victory to get that +25% boost for open borders. Now, 25% might not seem like much when we're getting a 660% from luxury resource monopolies, but I'd still say it's worth doing. Let's go for Ruhr Valley in Kerma, and we'll go ahead and recruit Gustav Eiffel and use him to maybe get that a little bit quicker. It really depends if anyone else is building Ruhr Valley, and it actually looks like Spain is building it too. So I tell you what, I will use Gustav Eiffel to get this finished a little bit quicker. We managed to research rifling, which doesn't matter too much. More important is opera and ballet, so we can get to work on Bolshoi Theater. We've also entered the modern era, so we can pick a golden age boost. I'm tempted by Heartbeat of Steam for that 10% production towards industrial era buildings, or rather industrial era wonders and the campus science adjacency. 2 arms might not be bad, but that's only if I had kept going the domination direction. I think I'll take Heartbeat of Steam because I have so much gold income right now that I don't need reform the coinage. We will build Bolshoi Theater in Winnipeg. It'll take 22 turns, but that's not too long. We might be able to get the production in this city up a little bit too. with a bit of work. Let's grab suzerainty of Singapore, because that's going to be a 15% production boost across my entire empire, since we're now suzerain of 2 city-states, and +2 production as well for our international trade routes is pretty respectable. Like, look at this capital, 153 production. That's starting to become a little bit absurd. 40 of that production is coming from the boost, and we're actually losing 10, our 12.7 production from having negative amenities. All right, we'll pop one more charge at Gustav Eiffel into the Ruhr Valley, but that's probably where we'll leave it. World's Fair is active now, and the winning prize is a diplomatic victory point and 100 great people points, but I'd like the 2 civic boosts if I could get those as well. All we have to do is generate great people points, and considering my empire is absolutely gargantuan inside compared to the AIs, I'm pretty sure I'll have a good chance of winning this. I'm just prioritizing. I've still got a little bit of infrastructure to repair due to like flooding and stuff like that, but I'm mostly prioritizing theater square buildings, although I still am only on the cusp of getting my very first great rider. I really do need to identify a city where I can just start working the projects, the things that you know, the things and the stuff, the theater square projects to generate a ton more great people points. Exploration gives us access to the Merchant Republic government as well as press gangs and stuff like that. But we're so close to actually picking up democracy that I don't think there's actually like a reason to switch governments. I think we're fine. I mean, I guess we could jump into Merchant Republic. We would lose a couple of military policy cards, which is fine, because we only really care about military research. And it would open us up to, yeah, I guess, you know what? This is actually a reasonable thing to do. Although I do like having the housing from walls. So I'm going to hold monarchy, because if I go through my empire and I look at the cities that have like Renaissance walls, they're actually pretty capped on housing. So that extra housing from Renaissance walls is pretty valuable. I think this is like one of the second last copies of marble I need. I have one here. I'm at 9 out of 11. I think there was another one down here to the southwest. So in a few turns, I'll have a complete monopoly of marble, which should, in theory, mean that I'll get even more tourism from having monopolies of resources. We got the Ruhr Valley, which is plus 20% production in this city and plus 1 production for each mine and quarry in this city. That's super good. That also unlocked Reformed Church for us as well. Now look at this city. If I go in and refresh, look at that 62.6 production. These hill mines are insane. I do need to repair those horses actually, because they've been broken for quite a while. But we can also pick up our very first great rider, which I'm pretty excited about. That's an extra 2 to 4 tourism per turn that we've managed to finally get our hands on. Oh, actually, we built the Cristo Redentor as well. I must have accidentally skipped that. So that's great. Our seaside resorts now are ridiculously good. I think I'd like to get Broadway if I could, so we'll start work on that. It'll take about 11 turns, which is honestly insane considering that normally this would take you like 30 to 20 turns to build. And we're building it in 11 in our capital. I suppose now is a good time that we have our stock exchange in Ottawa to start producing some products. I'm going to get to work on some amber products because that'll give me a boost to my faith yield. That'll be great in cities like my capital, which have a pretty decent faith yield, but could really do with like a 25% boost. Actually, my faith yield should be a lot better than that. Did Chinguetti? Oh, I think Chinguetti got murdered. Oh, no wonder my faith gain is so weak right now. Ah, that sucks. Well, maybe amber isn't the right choice. Although, I guess they do generate a bit of tourism and stuff like that. So it's probably not a bad idea to prioritize getting those. Time for another national park. Kaboom! Quebec City, that's plus 4 era score, as well as a ton of amenities, as per usual. City status has only gotten worse, but that's because my cities are continuing to grow massively. Like, my population level at this point in the game is kind of insane. But the fact that I'm managing to hold into just the displeased territory goes to show just how much national parks and stuff like that can carry you in terms of amenities. Because realistically, I only have access to what, like 6 or 7 luxuries or something like that, plus the ones from the city-states, which is really not a lot of luxuries when you consider the amount of cities I have and the amount of luxuries they consume. I do kind of like that the 2 continents are connected by this little thin land bridge. There is the Eiffel Tower. Now, the Eiffel Tower is something I'm going to prioritize, and I'll prioritize it in my capital. I'll slap it down right there. That's going to get prioritized even above the Broadway because the Eiffel Tower will directly translate into tourism by boosting my seaside resorts, by boosting my national parks, and just generally making anything that I build that requires appeal better. Oh no, I should have used Gustav Eiffel to boost the Big Ben. It looks like we just barely lost it. Oh, that's really upsetting. Because the Big Ben is actually a fantastic wonder. It gives you +1 economic policy slot, as well as immediately boosts your gold in your treasury by 50%, which means we would have hit 10 to 20k gold by the time we built it. I should have used Gustav Eiffel. Sometimes you make mistakes and you don't notice someone else is building a wonder. It's not the end of the world. Like, it wasn't a victory condition for me to get the Big Ben. I would have just really liked it. Oh, well, let's just get to work on Orzgaz instead. And I guess I will... Do I want... Yeah. I'll use the last charge of Gustav Eiffel to get the Eiffel Tower a few turns sooner. Let's work on oil next to pick up that strategic resource. Then in terms of tourism, I think we just want to go straight to computers for the 25% tourism boost across our empire. This is the final copy of marble in the world, and I've now got it improved, which means I have a complete and total monopoly over marble. Oh wait, no. Oh wait, no, sorry. There's derp. Well, yep, I'm a dumbass. There's one more copy of marble up here that I'll get in a couple of turns. The game is telling me I'll win in about 12 turns, which is a very nice and quick time to win. Considering I'm only generating tourism pressure against 4 players in what is supposed to be an 8-player game. That just so happens that I murdered the 3 other players who I should be generating tourism pressure against. You ever circumnavigate the world with a builder? I have. I just got my circumnavigation bonus with this one charge builder that I'm like running around the world to try and find stuff. Let's go ahead and purchase the sanctuary in Lixus so that we can have this really nice national park tiles in here. Damn, look at those. All right, another thing. Okay, Philip has captured Hattusa. I'll vote that up. You know what? Get Philip out of this game. Get him out of here. How dare he attack Hattusa? There's Orzgaz finished 100% diplomatic favor per turn from starting a turn as suzerain of a city-state is quite nice. It doesn't quite get rid of the negative penalty here from occupying original capitals, but it gets us close to the point where we may actually be able to start getting positive diplomatic favor. Maybe if I could nab an embassy or two from some of these players, or even if they sent me embassies or whatever, I could get this up into the positive levels where we're not completely just bleeding diplomatic favor every single turn. Purchase the very last copy of marble and improve it, and we should see our tourism boost go up. I don't know actually how the tourism boost is calculated. Is it based on the level of your monopoly? Because that would be interesting. I wonder if I remove this improvement. Oh no, it doesn't quite have enough appeal. I might be able to squeeze in enough appeal though to get those boosts from the Grove. +4 era score from having a harbour with an adjacency of 4 or higher. Very, very cool. Game says I'm 8 turns away from winning. I'm really enjoying. I really like the monopolies mode. It lets you try to pivot away from a victory condition. I think that's really cool that you can, like, if you're having like a rough time, you can pivot over. Or you just don't feel like having to conquer the entire world. You can just happily pivot. And that's really cool. I think that's a positive thing. I think a lot of people are like upset about it because it's like, oh, monopolies is too powerful. But it's only powerful if you have like a ridiculous amount of control of luxury resources. At least that's my experience with it. I don't think it's unreasonable that I have this level of, monopoly bonus from controlling, the entire world supply of these luxury resources. I mean, maybe it could be undertuned a little bit and then it would be slightly better balanced, but I don't really see a massive problem with it. I don't know, it seems relatively fine to me. Again, the worst thing I could say is that it's maybe a little bit overtuned, but it doesn't seem like horrifically game breaking. Hey, we found Oil Island. Probably a good idea to get a settler over there. Let's go ahead and nab one in Sidon. I feel like every game I play, I end up with Sidon as a city, just like either through conquest or through, loyalty flipping or something. Just there's always a Sidon in my game. I don't know if I'm crazy. Neat, 25 turns away from winning. Casual 446 tourism per turn. And in all honesty, I'm not even winning that much faster than I would in another game. This is like pretty comparable, especially when you consider how huge my empire is and how quickly I snowballed from early conquest. Winning around turn 225 is pretty reasonable. Pull up an artifact. Is there a way to tell if it's a heroic artifact? Oh, it looks like that one was. that was a heroic artifact, I believe. Was it? The hell did I just pick up there? There's no great work in Quebec. So what did I get? The epic? The necklace? It said a necklace, and I don't see a necklace here. I don't know if I'm blind or whatever. All right, that's fine, I guess. Oh, there it is. After some study, it's determined that this artifact was from Canada. Okay. It was just like that the pop-up never appeared for me. All right, fair enough. I was really confused there for a minute. I don't know. Maybe I just have too many wonders that I love, and I love when I get a game like this where I can build a bunch of my favorite wonders. The Eiffel Tower is just so great. I know we did a tourism game recently, but can you really blame me for playing the most fun way? Like, look at the appeal of my empire now that we have the Eiffel Tower. Like, look at these tiles over here. That's insane. You know what? I'm gonna come into Baruta and buy the sanctuary. Like, look at this. How could you tell me this isn't fun to do? Is just get really, really high appeal and build a crazy amount of national parks. Like, I want to put a national park over here somewhere. Like, I want to throw one down in the city of Baruta. Can I like wiggle my way around here to prevent it from going over that side? Yeah, there we go. Manipulate it to put it there. It's so satisfying to build the Eiffel Tower and like build a really high appeal empire. Let's get to work on democracy, and we actually managed to get our very first product, and it's Namsai perfume, which gives 3 culture and 1 tourism per turn, and it's currently in Ottawa. Now, I believe the developers said that the bonus from the corporation and from the great work weren't meant to stack, but it looks like they are stacking. But we don't really care about a 75% faith boost in this city, because we don't even have a holy site in here to take advantage of that. Actually, I'm really tempted to get a holy site now. And you know what? Let's do it. We'll get a holy site. We may as well make use of that faith boost. And we'll pop this over into my capital stock exchange. Wait, did I get a stock exchange in my capital? Did I forget? Oh, I forgot. Crap. Well, let's make that a priority, and then we can pop that in there, because this is where we'll actually get real value from that. We got the Chalice of Arthur. That's cool. Now we have the 2 great heroic works here. We've got the Chalice of Arthur and the Epic of the Hero Twins, although that should really go over to wherever Arthur was recruited into Ottawa. The heroic relics are just great. They're like a combined version of great works of writing and relics. They give you a little bit of culture, a little bit of faith, a good little chunk of tourism, and their tourism doesn't feel overpowered, because there's like a limited amount of them on the map. So you can only ever get that nice boost of tourism a couple of times realistically in a game. Well, the game is telling me I'm only a couple of turns away from winning, and I can't help but feel quite accomplished here. I feel like we've done something interesting. You know, this has been certainly an interesting civilization, right? It's a new take on Mongolia, and I have really enjoyed playing them. I'm really looking forward to doing more games as Kublai Khan in the future. The whole like trade with your enemy and then declare war on them, and you have fast moving horse units as your sort of priority. You have a unique mid-game crossbowman who is mounted, right? There's so many really cool things that are going on with this civ that it feels like, not only that, but it doesn't feel like it's an all-in civ when you're playing as this guy, because I've opened up trade routes with these guys. You know, I've gotten boosts from those trades, and yeah, it really does feel like this version of Mongolia is great at doing like an early push into something and snowballing technologically and, you know, culturally and stuff like that. But that you don't have to hard commit to a domination victory. You can pivot out pretty comfortably without really suffering too badly. So I have such a massive amount of luxury resources now that I'm hitting 1,000% multiplier, which is kind of just insane. But that's to be expected when you own 100% of the world's supply of marble, jade, and truffles, and roughly 17% of the pearls. 25. I think I own all of the cinnamon, but you don't get boosts from that. I own almost all of the world's amber as well. So yeah, I'm super not surprised that I'm like mega rich from monopolies. I'm getting 80 gold per turn from that. I'm getting an absurd amount of culture from it. Again, at both times that I've used this monopolies mode to win with tourism, I've had like an absurd amount of land. I don't think this would work super well if you didn't have a lot of land. You'd have to rely on more traditional routes to actually win a tourism victory, which I don't know. We'll try maybe a more traditional tallish kind of game. Maybe next. I don't know. I haven't decided on what my next game is. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think I should do. A lot of the current metagamey sort of powerful strategies right now kind of revolve around the tourism victory. There's a lot of really powerful strategies out there that just essentially rely on tourism. So I'm not sure if it'll get boring if I'm just constantly doing tourism wins. But I'm actually quite happy with that because tourism is my favorite way to win the game. I think it's the most interesting. It has the most gameplay mechanics. It has the most sort of unique. It has the most pathways to victory. It has the most interaction in a lot of sense because science is useful, faith is useful, war is useful in some respects. You know, luxury resources interact with it. The apocalypse mode interacts with it. The the secret societies mode, the heroes and legends mode. So many things interact with the tourism victory that just makes it really, really fun for me to go for. Because it's kind of a victory where you have just so many different ways you can do it that there's just like a really interesting web of decisions you can kind of go through when you're doing it. I don't know, but I know a lot of people are kind of have a bit of pain in their ass with the tourism victory, but I'm really, really enjoying it. So we actually got an achievement there, which is called For He on Honeydew Had Fed, which is winning a regular game as Kublai Khan. I'm very happy. This has been a wonderful game. We managed to get a culture victory. We only got a Shoka ranking, and the graph screen. I love looking at this. This is when I decided, you know what? War is no longer my thing right here. And I just went woof, and built all of the buildings in the world. I'm sure the districts constructed will look essentially the same. Yep. Around about where I decided I was no longer going to war, my districts constructed just started shooting up. I actually earned a really, really good amount of grey people this game. And once I started earning them, I was earning them pretty consistently. Like at a rate, like the graph here is pretty flat, and considering grey people get more expensive, what that tells you is the amount of grey people points I was generating was expanding rapidly, because normally if you're not expanding your grey people graph, it should look a bit more like this red one, where you pick up a couple early and then you slowly just pick up an occasional one as you continue on. Total religions founded. Look how late my religion was founded, dude. I founded my religion a full 100 turns nearly after the first religion was founded. And that's just because this was a very low religion game. Not a lot of people decided to go for a religion. Look at this units killed graph, dude. Oh my god, I've just slaughtered so many people. But you can very clearly see around about where I decided peace was the option. And surprisingly, this is actually one of the games where I lost the most amount of units, because I was just throwing units at cities. I was letting them take shots from cities. I was letting them die. And I still only managed to lose like 12 to 15 units, which is kind of insane. And I even managed to tie for wonders constructed, despite the fact that I never built a wonder until turn like 150. But I managed to just knock out a whole bunch of them in a really short span of time. The player's gold graph, I love a lot as well, because you could just see like everyone's like, oh, spend. And then you can see me saving for Big Ben, and then someone steals Big Ben from me, and I'm like, well, spend time. I really did not generate much faith this game. I'm actually kind of surprised, because I took 2 monumentalities this game, and almost all of my faith gained was from pillaging. Really, yeah, it was almost entirely from pillaging. Like these big spikes and stuff, I'm pretty sure this is all pillageable gold that I picked up. With the exception of this stuff in the late game. I think that was from Chinguetti. I'm pretty sure this is faith per turn. I could be wrong, but yeah, I didn't really push hard for faith. Let's have a look at science. Actually, I'm curious about science. Yep, not surprising. Usually on deity you tend to fall behind a good bit until around turn 150, and that's where, if you're playing correctly, you should more or less overtake the AI. And it should be pretty much the same thing with culture, although this game I had a very, very strong culture showing. I was never super far behind most of the civs. Realistically, I should be below every other civ in the game, but the fact that I killed Canada so early and was able to inherit so much science and culture from them meant that I overtook the other civs in the game very, very early, relatively speaking, to like a peaceful game. Look at the number of combats, dude. Everyone who fought me just got embroiled in combat, and then what I love about the number of combats graph is you can see how many wars a player is in and how many how big their army is. Because early game, I'm in like one war and it's kind of grinding, and then there's a little bit of peace, and then I'm in another war, and then another war starts, so the line ticks up, and then you can see my army just explodes around this point, and you can see the number of combats I do per turn. is just skyrocketing. And then I'm like, you know what? It's peacetime. Now, this is a graph I'm curious about. I actually didn't even found the most cities this game because I captured the vast majority of my cities. I only found it like 12. What was that? Is that 12? Did I really found 12 cities this game? It doesn't feel like it because I captured like a ridiculous amount of cities. Yeah, nearly 30 or that's about 25, 26 cities this game, which is insane, absurd. Like nobody ever really captures that many cities in the game unless you're going for a hardcore domination. Like a typical game for me would look like 2 or 3 cities captured at most, and that's usually like stuff opportunistic sniping of free cities and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to call that the end of this series and the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this Civ 6 series, and I hope you guys will watch the next one. I love you all very much, and just as we unlock democracy, I'll tell you guys that I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye!